The acrid smoke still rose from what used to be my $8 million mountain mansion. Black tendrils curling into that clean Colorado morning like accusations against the sky. And right there front and center stood Cordelia Ashford, cream blazer, clipboard at the ready, wearing the sort of smug grin you only see on people who've never truly lost a fight in their lives. Behind her, the Caterpillar bulldozer ticked and popped as it cooled, metal shrinking in the thin air almost 9,000 feet above sea level, echoing the last little bits of destruction that had just torn my life apart. "You should have paid the 47 grand in HOA fines," she said. All sugar on the surface, pure antifreeze underneath. The kind of voice that says you're not walking away from this one. 73 notices, 2 years. This was completely avoidable. Yeah, right. I looked down at the rubble marble floors shattered, blue crystal shining in the dust, and felt that little stone in my palm. Tanzanite, rarer than diamonds and worth more than Cordelia could ever imagine. The chemical reek of industrial drills still hung thick, mixed with pine sap and the bitter aftertaste of obliterated dreams. She had no clue what she'd just done. She didn't know I'd never even been part of her precious HOA HOD proof locked up in a Denver safety deposit box that would rip her authority to shreds. She didn't know she'd just destroyed evidence of a $200 million illegal mining operation I'd been investigating for 3 years as a federal agent. And she damn sure didn't know she'd picked the wrong enemy, because I was Senator Silas Blackwood, chair of the Senate Subcommittee on Mining Oversight, and she'd committed about 17 federal crimes before breakfast. If you've ever watched someone abuse power and then watched that power turn to dust in their hands, you know the feeling that was boiling up in me, standing in the ruins of what had been my federally protected safe house. Cordelia had no idea the biggest mistake of her life was thinking she'd won. What happened next, honestly, changed more than just my life. It sent a shockwave through the mining industry, through every HOA in America. You want the full story? Let me back up a sec. That morning, driving up the mountain, everything felt perfect: golden aspens, switchbacks, crisp October air. I just spent 2 weeks in DC stuck in classified hearings about rare earth mineral trafficking. Sleepless from the implications, but finally heading home, or what I thought would still be home. But the moment I hit the private gate-me high-security, military-grade facial recognition system was dead. Not glitched, surgically disconnected. Solar panels intact, data cables sliced clean, like someone with serious skills had been there. Backup systems offline. No alerts sent. My 2-mile driveway, normally a tunnel of peace through ponderosa pines, was torn up with deep, fresh tire tracks, the kind you only get from heavy equipment, not delivery vans. Then I rounded the last bend and Boomy house was just gone. Not remodeled, not damaged, gone. Obliterated. All that remained was a crater, splintered beams, stone ground into dust. The glass that once framed the view of the Continental Divide now just shards in the dirt. But it was the drilling marks 30-foot core holes straight through the foundation, RDX explosive residue on the air, military grade, not available to demolition contractors, that told the real story. The Tanzanite ore was everywhere. Once you knew what to look for, sparkling blue and full of secrets. Every piece was evidence. Each a federal crime. Cordelia hadn't just destroyed a house. She'd blown the cover on a crime worth hundreds of millions. I pulled out my encrypted sat phone, tapped into my off-site server security footage from 6 hidden military surplus cameras. There they were, 3 days ago for 17 a.m., a convoy of trucks with Ashford property management magnets, Cordelia in heels and a suit, directing the operation like a general. Lowboy trailer, excavator worth $500,000, and that voice: safety demolition, owner abandoned property, structural hazard, lies as practiced as a Broadway script. The forged paperwork? County seal was wrong, signature from a retired inspector in Florida. Federal forgery, 5-year minimum, and that was just her appetizer. But then came the twist. The second day's footage showed Roland Ashford, Cordelia's husband, rolling up with a mining crew, core drills, sample bags, collecting Tanzanite right out from under what used to be my basement. Just like the geological surveys predicted, he said, and I watched his lips. Careful-lighted, need audio. The surveys were classified documents from my own days at the Defense Department, sold out by someone on the inside, targeting my house because of what was underneath. See, 5 years ago, back when I was just a senior geological engineer, I discovered tanzanite beneath the rocky shoal VE made us billions, but instead the military contractors, mining companies, and politicians turned it into a black market operation, laundering stolen minerals through Africa, threatening my family, burning down homes. The FBI pulled me into witness protection, but the protection was running for Senate real campaign, real election, but everything else wiped away. My safe house bought through layers of LLCs and trusts wasn't just a home. It was the last outpost in a secret war. Cordelia demolished all of it because of some HOA fines about a flagpole. The third day, after the house was rubble, the real mining started. Massive drills, collection trucks, the works. They worked through the night, pulling out millions in tanzanite, erasing every trace. But not the satellite footage, not the thermal cameras, not the evidence I'd stashed offsite for just this scenario. As I watched the videos in my rental car, the anger inside me wasn't hot. It was cold, precise. Cordelia thought she'd made an example out of me. Really, she'd given me everything I needed to take down her entire network. The Ashford family, it turned out, wasn't just running an overzealous HOA, they were using it to drive people off their land, seize the property through shell companies, and mine minerals worth a fortune. 7 families forced out in the last 3 years. Hendersons, Yamamotos, Johnsons, all with the same playbook. Harass, fine, force to sell, then mine and destroy. That's when my phone buzzed. A secure message from Esperanza Rodriguez, head of the FBI's Mining Crimes Division, a buddy from Afghanistan. Saw the satellite shots. Want us to move now or wait? I replied, wait, let them think they won. Overconfidence is the enemy. Because it was time for a trap. That night at the Hampton Inn, I started pulling threads. Public records, LLCs in Delaware, offshore accounts, environmental damage, bribes, threats. The full scope was staggering. 40 million in tanzanite sold, 3 aquifers poisoned, mountains destabilized. Every crime covered up with bribes, threats, or, when that failed, straight-up violence. One whistleblower's house burned. Another stalked. A county inspector railroaded on fake charges. I needed to see Cordelia in her element. So I went to the next HOA meeting, a beige cinderblock building full of stale coffee and potluck ghosts. 23 residents, most looking ready to bolt. Cordelia started her speech about community standards and bad apples. Spinning lies so smooth you'd think she'd practiced in front of a mirror. I waited until she accused me of being a drug dealer before standing up, letting the silence settle as everyone turned to stare. You're right, Cordelia. I never was part of your association. Which makes what you did to my house especially interesting. I hooked up my phone to the projector first. My deed, showing my property was never annexed into the HOA. Next, the forged demolition order, signed by a retired inspector. Then, security footage of Roland's crew extracting tanzanite. Here's what you've really been doing, I told them, flipping through evidence like a prosecutor on TV. The room went from shock to panicked. The board members started inching away from Cordelia. You know the look. Finally, I dropped the bomb. My name is Silas Blackwood. I'm the senior U.S. Senator from Colorado and the chairman of the Senate Subcommittee on Mining Oversight. You didn't just demolish my house, Cordelia. You demolished a federal safe house. And you did it in the middle of an FBI investigation. She went white as a sheet. Phones buzzed, news was spreading. The fallout was instant, people scrambling out the door, Cordelia trying to threaten, then bargain, then finally break. You can't prove any of this. I grinned for the first time since I saw the ruins. The security system you thought you disabled uploads to federal servers every 12 hours. We've got it all: video, audio, paper trails, everything. At that very moment, FBI agents were raiding Roland's offices. State officials were getting subpoenas. And Cordelia's phone buzzed with a message that broke her. What do you want? She asked, defeated. Justice. Full cooperation. Names, dates, documents, everything. She agreed, knowing prison was the only future left, and the safety deposit box at First National Bank opened up Pandora's box. 342 documents, 67 photos, a thumb drive with recordings, and most damning, the governor of Colorado on tape, plotting how to keep the tanzanite discovery secret. The scandal erupted local, then national, then international. The governor arrested, county officials, judges. The entire ring dragged into daylight. Environmental crimes, racketeering, mail fraud, conspiracy, the works. The investigation uncovered a decade-long campaign over 200 properties targeted, 47 stolen. For $100 million in minerals ripped from the earth and the lives above it. Senate hearings broadcast live. Cordelia, in orange, told the world how they did harassment, fines, anonymous tips to child services, dead animals on porches, psychological warfare against anyone who wouldn't sell. Her testimony brought down 37 people, exposed a system of greed so deep it shook the country. In the end, Cordelia got 15 years, Roland 25, the governor 30. 43 people convicted, $600 million in restitution and fines. But it wasn't about revenge, it was about making it right. Every asset liquidated, every contaminated well replaced, every poisoned aquifer filtered, the mountains shored up against disaster. Families compensated, the Hendersons, Yamamotos, Johnsons all got their homes or value back, plus what peace money can buy, even if it couldn't heal every scar. Me? I refused to rebuild the mansion. Instead, I used the settlement to create the Colorado Environmental Justice Center, staffed with scientists, lawyers, and investigators dedicated to stopping environmental crime. The opening ceremony, 2 years to the day after the demolition, was a celebration of survival and justice, photos of every victim on the wall, new laws passed to keep HOAs from ever pulling this again, geological surveys made public for the first time. Jennifer Park, one of the first victims, stood up and said what needed to be said. They thought fear would break us. They thought wrong. The applause lasted 5 minutes. 5 years have gone by. The centers investigated 200 cases, won 80 convictions, and forced $300 million in fines. The meadow where my house once stood is green and wild again, eagles, deer, even mountain lions passing through if you know where to look. The tanzanite is still there, sleeping under the mountain, but now it's protected, mined only with consent and care, never at the expense of the people above. Cordelia, in prison, teaches a class on ethics, no joke. Roland's in solitary for running a mining scam in the prison yard. The governor tried writing a book. Nobody bought it. Sometimes I walk that mountain at sunset, think about all I lost, and realize what I gain. Eat a purpose bigger than myself. A movement that started with destruction and became something indestructible. My phone rings, a new case, another HOA trying to force out retirees in Montana. We're on it. Because justice isn't a moment, it's a fight you keep showing up for. Every day. No matter how many mountains stand in your way. So let me ask you. If you found out your neighbors were running a criminal empire under your feet, would you go to the authorities or handle it your own way? Drop your answer below and don't hold back, because power unchecked is just another word for corruption. And the only thing that really keeps it in check is people like us refusing to let it win.